Hello again. So today we're going to talk about continuing with our theme of preparing for this bikepacking race. I don't know if you watched the last video, but I'll link it in the end screen so you can look at that. And that was we're using the Trans-Pyrenees as an example, the one that runs in June, the Trans-Iberica one. There are two. There's one by Pedal Led, which is the same company that run the Transcontinental race, but we're looking at the Trans-Iberica one. It's about 1,000 kilometres, 25,000 metres of climbing, and it traverses the Pyrenees from east to west. So what we did last time, we looked about the overall information that we could find. Basically that was looking at the website, and then what we found on the website, there was a route on Ride with GPS, so we had a quick look at that. And what we found is overall we've got to, you've got a week to do the event if you're looking to meet the cut-off, so let's say sort of 6 days to be within the cut-off and have a bit of contingency. Or if you want to be up with the leaders, you've got 3 days. So 6 days is about 165 kilometres a day with 4,000 metres of climbing, or 3 days is 330 kilometres a day with 8,000 metres of climbing. So that's roughly 100 miles a day or 200 miles a day if you want to work in the imperial units. And then the next step, what I do is I create an overall plan. I don't add a lot of details, but what I do is I create an overall plan, and that helps me visualise sort of where we are now, where we've got to get to, and then you can create stepping stones, and then you can use this overall plan to track your progress. So I've started using the spreadsheet tool for that, so I can show you how that works, and I can walk you through the process. So this is it, and I've started. You don't really want to watch me typing loads of stuff in, so I've added some details. Here we are. We've got to say, well, you focus on one day according to the plan. Now, I've put here that 165 kilometres in 14 hours, but bearing in mind that you're unlikely to live in an area that's as hilly as the Pyrenees, so really what you want to do is look to doing something that might be equivalent and see whether you can sort of build up to doing 1 day of an equivalent distance, which might be say if you could ride 200 kilometres in a fairly hilly area, you might consider that to be equivalent to 165 kilometres in the Pyrenees, because it is quite hilly around here. I live in the Pyrenees, in the French Pyrenees, actually on the Trans-Pyrenees route. So you need to sort of find some equivalent. And when you ride these bikepacking events, when you ride a bikepacking event, I found that it's better to ride to a time schedule. So what you might want to do is think about the time schedule that you want to use, and then prepare so that you can ride for 1 day of that time schedule. So if you say could be on the bike nominally for 16 hours a day, that gives you 8 hours off the bike. So I mean, obviously you'll be stopping, like you have to go into shops to get a resupply, get some food, get a drink, go to the toilet, whatever. But say you're riding nominally for 16 hours, and then you're off for 8 hours, which might be you've got to unpack, get you ready to sleep, go to sleep, eat. You might want to eat a bigger meal in the evening. Get up, get your breakfast, and get going again. Or you might ride for longer, or you might want to ride for shorter. It depends on what suits you. It's very personal. I've coached two sort of very high-performing female athletes, one of which was Jenny Graham, who broke the round world record. Well, Jenny liked to ride for a long time and have a short period of time off the bike. And the other athlete that I coached, she liked to ride a bit faster but have more time to recover. And you know, in an event, they would probably be equivalent performers. So you need the strategy that suits you, your riding style, and how much sleep you can cope with. I mean, remember, this is a short event, so if you're in the sort of 3 to 4 day group, then you can probably cope with not much sleep. But if you're in the 6 day sort of group, then you probably need a bit more sleep. So that's the other thing to bear in mind, how long you're going to take for the overall event, and that can give you a daily schedule. Anyway, so I've put here focus on 1 day according to the plan, but and that's correct. I've put 165 kilometres in 14 hours, but what we might add is ride for one day of the ride schedule, 14-hour day nominally I've put here, and that obviously you do that to suit your requirements. So then you can see the spreadsheet. So we've got the week beginning days, start the week on a Monday, that's the way I normally do it. And then there's a countdown to the event, nice colours as you get closer to the event, but that's up to you. And then what it's nice to have a weekly schedule, so I like to do roughly the same thing each day of the week, roughly. So you might want to do intervals on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, and you might want to do your long ride on a Sunday. I've added in the fact that we've got Christmas. If you start on the 6th of December, that gives you just over 6 months to prepare for the event. But you've got Christmas in the middle of it, and New Year, if you celebrate New Year quite heavily or effectively or whatever, then you've got that to bear in mind. And then I vary the load from week to week. I find that it works well to have a 3-week rotation. Some people can cope with 4 weeks, and it really, to some extent, depends how hard you make the weeks, because if you make the weeks a little bit less hard, you can cope with 4 weeks probably, but then again you might not be training as effectively. So it's important to vary the amount of load that you put on yourself and recover from it. It's when you work hard, you break things down, and so you're not sort of getting fitter, you're getting tired, or things are getting broken down, your muscle cells and things like that get broken down, and then when you have a rest, everything builds back. And because your body doesn't want to go through the same trauma again, it builds back a little bit stronger, which means you can work harder in the next block, have a break, it builds back a bit stronger, and that's how you gradually get fitter and fitter. So it's really in these recovery periods that you make the gains. So you have to make sure you have the recovery periods and don't just keep training harder and harder, because all that happens then is you just get more and more tired and make yourself ill, and you could have to have months off and then you'd miss your event. So you need to get the balance right, and training's all about balance, consistency, and keeping it in small increments. It's good to have big goals, but it's good to get fitter in small steps. You might want to have 3 medium weeks to get yourself going, and then a light week, a medium week over New Year, and then something like a heavy week, light week, and then you might be into your 2 hard weeks, 1 easy week. And then I've put normally the focus here, so focus on one day for the first couple of months, and then start to include some long weekends in the next couple of months. Have an easy week, have a test event, so you can, early April, you might on Easter weekend, you might be able to use Easter weekend. I'm not sure when Easter falls, but you might be able to use Easter weekend as a good time to do a test event. So there might be some test events that are on, maybe a 600 kilometre road arc, so there might be some events that you fancy doing as a test in the spring, and then you can practice all your systems, get everything ready, learn, make some mistakes, have a couple of nights out, get home and reevaluate the situation, and then modify your training for the next couple of months, which lead you into your event. And obviously after that you'd have a recovery week, and then you'd get back into that cycle. So I don't plan all the details straight away. I think I mentioned that. I just get this overall plan, and then I put the details in initially. If I'm working with a new athlete, I do that week on week, so a week at a time, so that I can get feedback quickly. And then as I start to get to know them and they start to get to know me, then I might plan 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And I would do that for myself, if I was planning things for myself, and if you're planning it for yourself, do the same. If you want me to help you, I still have space for a few athletes and my coaching program, so get in touch if you want me to coach you, and see how we get on, have a chat and see whether we like each other. And I should also say that if you like these videos and find them useful, please give us a like and a subscribe, and that'll help me motivate me to make more videos, and I'll know what's working for you and what's not working for you. Like I said, I like to have a fairly a standard week, because if if you do the same thing on the same day each week, then it's easy to learn things. So say if you always do your long ride on a Sunday, and you're always tired on a Tuesday, but you're trying to do an interval session and you can't do it, then you know that you need to change something. So maybe you should move the interval session to Wednesday, and then you've got the same system, like intervals Wednesday, long ride Sunday. That works. So you can keep doing that, and then you can build up your training incrementally. But if you keep changing and swapping things around, then you don't really know. It's much harder to learn what's working and what's not working, and then it's harder to sort of make gains in your training. So it's all about consistency and progression and whatever, and specificity. That's the magic word that people like to use. And you'll see here we get more event specific as we get closer to the event. So you basically want to do a long ride on either. If you've got more time at the weekend, you might want to do that on either Saturday or Sunday. So you'll see the options here in this spreadsheet: a rest day, easy day, which would be to just get out, get a mental break. You're still doing some riding or do something different, go for a walk, go for a run or something like that. But make it easy, and that still counts as training. So you can, an easy ride of 2 or 3 hours is an aerobic workout, and it's getting your body fitter. But if you do too much of it, you're just getting your body more tired. Endurance pace is what the bulk of your training is going to be, and that's the sort of pace that you might ride in your event. We can talk about training zones maybe in another video if you're not sure, but there's lots of videos about training zones, heart rate zones, power zones. If you can afford a power meter, it's a great help. Endurance stroke tempo. Tempo is becoming increasingly damaging to you, so we'll have to recover from that. So what I call a harder session might be anything, a long ride or a tempo ride, anything that you actually have to recover from. Long rides, hard, I use that term for high intensity things like intervals and that type of thing. And strength, you might want to include strength in your training program. So this is a week that I might typically use. Most people have more time to train at the weekend, so I like to use the weekend to build volume, and then I like to use the week to build so as a speed, so I include an interval session. If you recover quite well from your long ride, certainly initially you might manage an interval session on Tuesday and a sort of more easier or shorter tempo type session on Thursday, but obviously be really careful not to overdo it. Or you might want to do an interval session on Saturday and then your long ride on Sunday. But if you're trying to build up your ability to ride on back-to-back days, which is the sort of underlying basis of what we're trying to do, then it can be quite good to do a long ride on a Saturday and then just do a short ride on a Sunday, and that's basically you then getting used to riding when you're a little bit tired. So this gives you an idea of how I might structure the week, and then in the next video I'll talk about adding some detail into the training plan. Remember, it's got to be personal, it's got to work with your lifestyle, so spend a bit of time thinking about when you've got time available to train, when you can do your long rides, when you can do harder rides, whether you're going to train with power or heart rate, or if you're training with power then it's worth having heart rate as well, because it's a really good useful added piece of information. Or if you're not going to use any gadgets, just use perceived exertion. If you're breathing hard, then you're going a bit too fast for your endurance pace. If you're not breathing hard and you can have a chat, then that's great for endurance. So you can use your perceived exertion as a measure of how hard you're working, and that can work really effectively. So hope this helps. Get in touch if you want specific information or if you've got any questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.